Done. There we go. All right. Today's talk is called Clearing the Clutter. Now, you might think I'm talking about clearing the clutter in your room or house or whatever, because so many people talk about clearing the clutter and it helps you get clear in your head. And maybe that's true, maybe it isn't. I used to work in a retail store where when things were hectic and we were going for it and selling a lot of stuff, it didn't matter how messy the place got. We didn't start cleaning up until things were slow. So when things are slow, if you want to clean up, that's a really good idea because it does create space for the next big input of stuff. But never try to clean the clutter when you're in the midst of a big wave of creativity, sales, or whatever. It'll get in the way of the energy. Let it be messy. Stay with the creativity. Clean after. You'll have plenty of time once the wave is done. Okay, but that's not what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about something Ernest Holmes called race consciousness. I have renamed it to collective consciousness because I don't like the word race. And so I've gotten rid of it and I call it collective consciousness. But what I mean is what Ernest Holmes was calling race consciousness, which is basically all that consciousness that's going on inside of us from outside that we don't even know is impacting us. That's the clutter you want to clear. The clutter we need to clear is the clutter of the collective consciousness. When you were born with a divine seed. That divine seed is unique unto you. We have all allowed that seed to be impacted by the collective consciousness of what others think is the proper way to proceed in life. But each of us has a unique way of being that we only get to experience when we clear the clutter created by all those people close to us and far from us who think they know better of how we should live our lives. One of the things that I recognized recently, and this is recent for me, is because I have done a tremendous amount of different types of work in my life. In fact, over 96 different types of work. And one of the things I realized is, and I've only been successful in a couple of them. I've been fired and laid off from more jobs than you can possibly even imagine. And so there have been times in my life because I do not have the money saved for my retirement, and I do not have the house paid off, and I do not have a lot of the things that the collective consciousness says I ought to have at age 65. But what I recognized is very early on in my life, I made a choice that what I wanted was a life full of adventures, a life full of stories that I get to tell. And I've got to tell you, I have been so successful at that. I have some I have stories that most people think I'm lying. They don't even believe me when I tell them some of the stories of what has happened to me and the adventures I have had in my life. From being in a hospital room, surrounded by doctors telling me I only have 3 days to live, to falling off a mountain and landing on the only tree growing out of the mountain for 100-foot drop and 100 feet wide. And then being stupid enough to try climbing again and falling a second time on that same tree. I have stories about sweat lodges and travels and places I've been and the things that have come out of nowhere. My life has been an extraordinary adventure. So maybe I don't have those things that collective consciousness thinks I ought to have, but I have led the life that my seed, that divine seed within me, has supported me to live. I have done things that are out of the realm of belief. You know, I've walked across fire 13 times. I have been placed under a waterfall with icicles above me, pouring on me for over 45 minutes when that's physically impossible in terms of hypothermia, and yet I did it. I could go on. I mean, I'm not even scratching the surface of all the things that have gone on in my life. So I have these stories, and I love sharing them. And I get a smile on my face every time I do. What in your life is your seed? What in your life, when you were young, did you know was just so important to you? That, you know, some people call what we're looking for a calling. I call it a nudging. Because a lot of times you don't hear it out loud, this calling, but you have been nudged. I have been nudged. We have all been nudged since its earliest days to bring forth that is what is unique within each of us. I have brought forth what is unique within me. And it has done for me an amazing life. When I look at it in the frame of what I was truly after. What have you always been truly after? You know this by what has always brought a smile to your face, even in the toughest of times. What has brought you forth since you were little? That has always been the thread there for you. And then, have you allowed the collective consciousness to drain away that which you had held high as something that was important to you, and to put it in place something the collective consciousness said that this is what should be important? Now maybe, because I know people who have lived in the collective consciousness way of living and have a paid off house and have tons of money in the bank and are really happy, which means that that was the seed for them. So I'm not saying if you followed that route that means that wasn't the seed. I'm just asking you to be that level of honest with yourself. I'm asking you to look within yourself, because if that seed is there and you haven't been following it, I am here to tell you it's not too late. I am here to tell you that until you have taken your last breath, you still have time to feed that seed that the divine has planted in you. Go for it. Nurture it. Clear the clutter of the collective consciousness. How do you do that? There are many ways people do it. I meditate, I walk, I journal. I have way more than one way of getting me to that place of knowing in myself. Walking in the woods, you have to find what works for you, that can help you dig through the entangled mess of the collective consciousness that has been pouring through you your entire life. There is something within you that is yours, only yours. Only you can bring forth that which is been planted in you. Are there others that may be on a similar path? Absolutely. But that doesn't make it the same. Similar is not the same. What you want is to trust yourself on the deepest of levels, no matter how many voices are telling you otherwise, to believe that you really do have something spectacular to bring to planet Earth. I am not special. I don't have any special powers or talents that others don't have. I just have my gift. I just have what is mine to bring, and have been lucky enough to focused on it enough to now in my at 65 look back and go, yeah, I really did live the life that I was out to live and continue to do so, even though it didn't turn out the way, I had, in the ways I had bought in that it should have. So what ways have you bought in that is killing your joy of what you truly love doing? Because maybe it doesn't make enough money, or maybe it doesn't feel right, or whatever. There's something in you that is unique for you that wants to express itself. And I encourage you. I support you. I am loving you to bring out that which is yours, only yours, that you just love, that whenever you talk about it or think about it, puts a smile on your face. Because I know that we get to live that way, even in our darkest moments. When I was in that room surrounded by all those doctors, and when they left the room, I decided I was going home. I was sick as a dog and really thought I only had a few days to live. The nurse came in and I told her I was going home. And she said, "You can't do that." And when I ripped those IVs out of my arm, a smile came to my face, because I knew I had quite a story here to tell for however long I was going to get to tell it. When I was sitting on that tree after it had gone directly through my legs, and I'm seeing stars, and I'm just hanging there by a thread onto this thing, a smile came to my face. Knowing, boy, is this going to be an incredible story as long as I live to tell the tale. There is something in you, even in your darkest moments, when you follow who you truly are, that brings a smile to your face. Follow it. It's totally worth it. I look back at my life and it has been totally worth it. You will too. Thank you. I love you.